Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. I hope you enjoy what we are doing here. At the first, I want to say some excuse in advance. Unfortunately, I have some pain in my shoulder since some months, so I have my hand in my pocket. Sorry for this. It's not, I mean, and if I sometimes make like this, it's not because of you. It's just I need sometimes to a little bit fix it. So bear with me in this respect. Okay, I give a small overview what we're going to do today, tomorrow, and after tomorrow. Today we make some small introduction. What is the symbol about? I mean, in the structure of the symbol. I explain a little bit the theory and that you have a basic idea. Tomorrow, and this is my most important point for this winter camp. I want to make some practical meditation. So once we understood the structure of the symbol, we can apply it on ourselves. You will see how it works tomorrow. This means we trying to work with the Octave system, putting certain impulses on certain spots, and I hope very much that everybody of you will get a certain inner experience, what is actually inside this symbol, what can be get out of it, a certain inner state. Inshallah, it will work for everybody. So we will see this. But before, it is good to understand some theory well, that we can do the practical part. And on the third day, I make some, like I did in the last seminaries, in the last years also, I make some comparison between Enneagram and some traditional symbols from other religions. So you will see that actually you have the same information, the same structure in all religions all over the world. When you come to the very core of the tradition, you will see it is, in the end, it is always the same. Every religion, if it is a true religion, is dealing about the same thing. So this is what we do on third day. Now, okay, we start with, this is basically the symbol. Everybody is familiar with it, or somebody? No, not at all.
I never heard about it.
Not at all, okay.
First time.
Okay. So what is the Enneagram? It is an esoteric symbol, which was actually introduced by the Caucasian mystic Gurdjieff. Maybe somebody heard the name. He introduced it. He had some small groups of students in the 1910 years. It was in Moscow and St. Petersburg. He started up with he gave some lectures about mystics in general, and he introduced a special method, and in one of his lectures he introduced the Enneagram symbol. So all this is recorded in a book of one of his most famous students. He's called Uspensky. He wrote this book, In Search of the Miraculous, and I can very much recommend this book. It's really, it can explain so much, and also it doesn't matter in which spiritual path we are in, it explains so much things. I read it again and again, and always there's something inside.
So it's not really, don't deal with Islam. It's
close to it. I mean, more with the abstract content of religion in the end.
And it comes from the Caucasian.
Yeah. I will explain now. So the good thing also in it is that this chapter, it is like 15 pages or 20 pages, and this chapter is actually the only source we have about the Enneagram, where Gurdjieff really directly explains something about the symbol. This symbol you cannot find all over the tradition. You cannot find it before and after also not. Gurdjieff found it somewhere, and he didn't really mention where he found it, and he used it for his work. And some explanations, if you want to check it out, you can find in this book some further basic explanations of it. But I think we will mention this also. And the point for us, why Enneagram here in this place, the point for us is that in one way or other, this symbol is connected with the Naqshbandi tradition. So there is a meeting. Oh, I see now this little bit. Okay, if this will cause problem, we have to find solution, but I think the other is okay. There was a meeting between Grand Sheikh Abdullah Qaddasallahu Sir and Gurdjieff around 1917, and they met, and all this is recorded in the book of Shaykh Hisham, the Naqshbandi Sufi way. And you find a small chapter, and there is this meeting recorded, and there is a small conversation between Gurdjieff and Grand Sheikh, and it is said about that there was transmitted a knowledge of the 9 points. This is basically what the chapter is about, and this certainly refers to the Enneagram. And I have now not this chapter, but I have something which Shaykh Nazim said about the Enneagram and Gurdjieff. There was a meeting. Shaykh Nazim was in a meeting of followers of John Bennett. John Bennett is the most famous student of Gurdjieff, and there was a meeting, and he explained something about the Enneagram, and I like to read it now. Some of John Bennett's American followers met Shaykh Nazim. I think it was in the 90s or something. I am very happy, Shaykh Nazim is saying, I am very happy that you came all the way here to see us. I heard many things from my Shaykh about your master, Gurdjieff, the closeness he felt towards him, and how after he died John Bennett used to come frequently to see him. Gurdjieff met Grand Sheikh Abdullah Dagestani at least once. In the path of God, we do not think that there are differences between brothers. All masters are one in the universe. All of them are the same. If you met this or that one in your belief, it is the same. For all of them receive their power from one who is the center of everything, whose name in Arabic is Allah, God, our Lord. One day, Gurdjieff met our master secretly. Our Grand Sheikh wished nothing to be known of that meeting, and so it was not mentioned. All that was said in Gurdjieff's books was that he met some saints in Damascus and Baghdad with no mention of names. Still, he ordered John Bennett to meet with Grand Sheikh frequently and allowed him to mention these meetings in his books. That is why John Bennett spoke about Grand Sheikh. On the occasion of their secret meeting, Grand Sheikh gave permission to Gurdjieff to use the power of the 9 points, which some of you, I think, are familiar. However, he did not give Gurdjieff permission to use all that power, and so Gurdjieff did not pass the full measure of that power on to his followers. The power Grand Sheikh gave Gurdjieff was like that of a reflection in a mirror, resembling the original but not the original. The secret of it he kept in his heart. Why? Because he knew that at the end of this world someone is coming who will use that power completely in all the earth. That time is the time of perfection, and everything at that time will attain its perfection and be complete. And all the saints in the world, in this universe, await that miraculous age. I mean this time of Mahdi, obviously, alayhi salam. So what we can get from this, for the question, what is the Enneagram, we can say it is like, as he said, it is like a reflection of the Naqshbandi, of something of the Naqshbandi knowledge. It is a reflection somehow, and so it makes a certain sense to study it. This is why we're doing this now. And there is, I want to say something about the later reception of the Enneagram. There's one thing which is the most prominent, most popular one. It is the theory of the 9 types. Maybe somebody of you heard this. And anybody who was in my former seminaries or who knows me knows that I actually don't like this theory. Why? Because it is so widespread, and the thing is, it gives a completely wrong idea of the symbol. It has nothing to do with the symbol. It is an own idea of this South American esoteric Oscar Ichazo. He made something like a typology, like a system of types out of it. And with the traditional Enneagram, it has nothing to do at all. You cannot find any connection. You can imagine it like somebody is finding a chessboard and he doesn't know about chess, never played chess, he don't know the rules, and he just invents some game of his own. Let's say checkers, or I don't know what else you can do with a chessboard. If you want to know more about it and about the arguments why I refuse it, I wrote an article some 3 years ago, and if you like to know about more about this, you can check it out. The second one is Dr. Lale Bakhtia. She is living in USA. She's Iranian originally, and she published some books about what she's called Sufi Enneagram. And this is quite interesting. You can check it out. And the third main line is of John Bennett, who we mentioned already. He called it the process Enneagram. So he tried to find that Enneagram is describing processes in general, and he tried to figure it out how this is going to work. And there's also a couple of books. It's interesting stuff. If you like, you can check it out. What we do here is a little bit close to the process Enneagram, but it actually is made from the scratch. So what I did, I went to the in the past 20 years like this, I went to the tradition, I went to the basic mathematical geometrical studies, because it is a geometric symbol in the end. So I found it useful to study ancient geometry first, and this is how I put it up, what I say here. So what we say here you will not find anywhere else. It's my own creation. So don't look for it in somewhere. You will not find any connection. There is some book from me is on the road. It takes a long time. I hope maybe after 1 or 2 years it will be available in English. First version will be in English. Yeah. So the question for us is what is the benefit of studying the Enneagram? And I want to take some hadith of the Prophet here, who said, if you know yourself, you know your Lord. And in regard to the Enneagram, we can translate it like, if you know the structure of your being, you know who is your Lord. So if you have a picture of your inner and outer structure, and you study it, it will be quite logical who has to be your Lord in this structure and who has not. We will see this. I will develop this now. So we start with the structure of the human soul, how it is mentioned, you can say, in every ancient tradition all over the world. You find always the same structure. You find this, the structure of the human soul put into 3 levels, basically. So, first level from down to up is called in the tradition the vital soul. This is about. Yeah, we will see what it's about. I will ask you now what it is about. Then second level, emotional soul. Third level, mental soul. And now I want you to tell me, if you observe yourself, what you can find in yourself and which belong to which. Everybody understood what I asked? Something you find
with the organ.
Yes, for example, I give an example, thoughts. Where do thoughts belong?
No, thoughts.
Thoughts belong to which level in this?
Mental soul.
Mental soul.
Mental.
Yes. Anything else?
Imagination.
Imagination, where to put it?
Mental.
Mental. What else? If you just observe the complete of yourself, in and out, what do you find?
Ego and soul.
Okay, this is already a judgment in it. So,
Senses.
Hmm?
Die Sinne.
yes, yes. Where does it belong?
Mental.
You sure?
Emotional.
I would say it's a body function, no? Vital, vital soul.
Normal feelings.
Yes, where to put?
So,
Which?
emotional.
Yeah, yes.
Animal desires.
Where to put?
Down.
Very down.
Vital.
Yes.
Hunger,
Yes, where to put?
vital souls.
Yes.
Happiness.
Happiness?
Emotional.
Yes, okay. I mean, the basic idea, what is important to our concept of soul, what we have in our minds is, in the ancient tradition, this, what is called the soul, it consists of all these three layers. Today, the concept of the soul became very mixed up especially by modern psychology, and nowadays we connect it with something emotional in the first place, but it is not. In the tradition, it consists of all of the three layers.
But if I well understood, in the Quran, the soul is now nafs lawama.
This will come later.
It's not like this.
I will develop this. Be patient. So, okay. As if I knew it before, I have it here. What you just said. This. Now the structure, what we see here, it is all along the human body. Actually, in the Enneagram, we have a circle. So this is a speciality of this symbol, that this structure, you have to imagine, it is like bowed into a circle. So it is starting from here down to up. This is this line. And in the Enneagram, it is bowed into a circle. This is actually not our reality, because now we are walking upright. But if you want a connection to the reality, when you have a baby in the mother's womb, it is still like you have this bowed into a circle still. So then the next step, what we need, we defined now soul, and I leave it now open if it is which nafs it is. We just say it is, because nafs in Arabic is soul. And in the symbol we have another element. We have this inner triangle, and what is this? When we have body, soul, what can it be? Spirit. Yeah.
Spirit is not.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. This is very basic general teaching of body, soul, and spirit. You find it all over the tradition. It is same, and you will see the connection to the Islamic tradition. You will see. So this inner triangle is connected to what Gurdjieff called the third force. So I forgot to say, with the soul, it is a very important point to understand the soul as it is in the state we are in, and this is actually the soul nafs amara bisu, which is attached to the material level, and the most important characteristic of the soul, as we find it in ourselves, it is this polarity characteristic, that we are always in polarities. On the mental level we have like logic, we have like yes and no, true and false. On the emotional level we have pleasant emotions, and we have negative emotions, and it is always changing. And also we can see that our state during the day is changing all the time. And the same is also in the vital level. Sometimes we feel desire, we feel hunger, then we are saturated and it's okay. And all the way down. It is the important thing, it is never in balance. This is the point. And what is now the role of the spirit in the tradition? It is always said that is the spirit, the task of the spirit is to balance this soul. But we will later see how it actually works. But a good imagination to understand it, these three forces, and the spirit represents the third force. A good inner image picture, what you can get for this, and also a traditional picture, is the scale. So you have plus minus on the two sides of the scale, and the spiritual power is able to balance it. Theoretically, and if we put it into act, then practically. And another example to understand the two powers and the third power is, of course, male and female. If there was no third power, it would be like whenever a man and a lady meet, they would be a couple. Because you have a man, you have a lady, and it would be a couple. Or also every couple, every marriage would be happy if there was no third force. Because in every marriage you have a man and a lady, and if it is nothing more needed, then should be okay. But the fact that some relationships work and some do not work, it is exactly because of the third force. Is the third force coming to balance the thing, or is it not coming? So the third force is a very, apart from this polarity, the understanding of this polarity setting, the third force is maybe the most important thing to understand in order to, on the spiritual way and in general also, to understand how energy is working together. And then I give you now what we said up to now. This is now the complete assignments, what you can get in the Enneagram. So the three parts of the soul. The circle represents the body, I mean like the vessel in which everything is taking place. The energy setting of the nafs, polarity, and the possibility of balancing it within the system. I mean, you must imagine, and we will talk about this later also, usually what we are doing is we are balancing this polarity not within ourselves, not by the spirit, but we balancing it with material means. So we have a polarity, let's say we want something, kebab, I don't know, we want something, and instead of balancing this desire within ourselves, we go to the kebab shop and balance it with the kebab. And so the polarity is cancelled. But as Muslims, okay, we know we have Ramadan, and then we can experience the other way around. Then we stop, we deprive the soul, the nafs amara bisu, which is attached to material level, we deprive it from getting balanced by material object, and then attention is developing. We can feel it during the Ramadan. Some tension, it may be unpleasant, but somehow also we feel it is like an energy. It is present in us, and because we stop, the tension gets during the day gets more and more. And I think everybody of you experienced when we do prayers and we do zikr and spiritual exercise, we are able to balance this tension in one way or another. So the spirit, we can also, as instead of spirit, we can say here ibadat or zikr or prayer, whatever. So this is the basic function of all this, is to balance this polarity. And finally to bring it back into a unity. I will show in the next slides how this is going to work. Another thing to understand the complete symbol is the inner circle. So we can draw an inner circle into the structure, and this circle is like half radius of the outer circle. And this symbolics contains some harmonical symbolics, some from the field of music. So, and Gurdjieff, he spoke about the law of 7 or the law of the octave. And to speak about this is, if we have a certain frequency and we have now here full radius, then we put half radius. Then when we put half radius, for example, on an instrument, we have one string and we put it half, we have the double frequency. And this is the famous higher octave all these esoteric groups speak about. I mean, it's the higher octave of the soul. So the soul can move from one state to a higher state. And to give you an example for these octaves, this is a very general law, not only connected with the spirituality. You can find it in nature everywhere. For example, one famous or one very significant octave is if you have a caterpillar and then it is the same animal after this transformation. It is still the same animal but on another level. You cannot say it is another animal, it's the same. Like the same tone, like for example C, and if you put it on the next level you have the higher C. So this is how nature was described in ancient harmonics, in this ancient, actually harmonics in ancient times. It was a very important basic science to understand all about nature, to understand all about processes, energies, how energy is working together. And unfortunately this is most of it is lost. Today they don't study it anymore, unfortunately. Another example, now not from the nature but from human culture processes. For example, you have cotton, which is cotton on this level, brought to the next octave. You can say it is like a thread. Brought to the next octave, it is like cloth. Brought to the next octave, it can be a shirt, for example. So this is how, to give you examples of octaves. And the same is in spirituality. The idea is that we have a soul on a lower level, on Nafs Amara Bisu, and maybe you heard about these 7 stages of the Nafs and stuff like this. And you have again this law of 7, law of the octave. So the Nafs, it is able for the Nafs to move from one state to another, finally to reach the next octave, which is, I think, Nafs Kamil, Nafs Kamila. And another aspect of the Enneagram, important for the understanding of the structure, is the idea of octaves moving up and octaves moving down. I mean, you have 2 possibilities for everything in this world. It can develop on a higher level, or it can break down and fall down on a lower level. And to give you an example where both of these possibilities are can be seen, if you take wood, you have wood on this level. If you just burn it, you bring the wood to a lower level. This is ashes. You cannot, I mean, ashes is obviously on a lower level, because with wood you can do many things. With ashes you cannot do it. So this is like burning, and this means the third force is not used, but it is just the 2 forces are deleting each other. So what is left over from the wood is like nothing, like ashes. Other way around, what we have the tradition of making charcoal, I think it's called, an old profession. This is like the wood is then covered with soil and in a special way is covered, and it is also burnt, but then something else is happening, and this is it becomes charcoal in the end. And yeah, you can compare this, if you compare this to the what we saw before, the caterpillar also is covering itself in something, it's entering into darkness, you may say, cutting off the connections to the outer world, and then something else is happening. It's coming to the higher level. And if you think about what we have in spiritual tradition, in all traditions, what we have in Sufi tradition is khulwat. What we do, we put the dervish into a chamber, we lock him, and then some other things happen. The optimum result is dervish, then nafs finish, dervish on the higher octave. This is the same. It's always the same structure of energy, like it is described in this ancient knowledge. And for sure, this technique to make charcoal, is derived from ancient knowledge. It is they knew that they have to cover it, and they have to they make different changes, and then they will get a higher octave as the result. Yeah, this is again the structure, and this is again the structure put on the human body as we find it. This will be important for tomorrow, because when tomorrow we make this practical exercise, then because we are not bowed into a circle, but we are upright, so we have to find out the points. What we need, we have to find in the upright position, of course. Now, what is spiritual power? To define it a little bit more precise. In the tradition, it is consisting of 3 basic powers. And this is also a very important thing to understand. The 3 basic powers of every creature, especially of human being. You have one basic power, is consciousness. The other basic power is willpower. These powers can be connected by the power of love. And I will explain it a little bit more detailed now. First, only very short, I do this usually longer in the previous seminaries. You have this depiction of Gurdjieff, and you have these 3 creatures, and then you can find in the tradition lion, bull, eagle, and you can find in the tradition that the lion actually is a symbol for consciousness, the bull is a symbol for willpower, and the eagle is a symbol for love. And man is so to say combining all these basic powers into oneness. And to explain a little bit these powers, why are these the basic powers of human being? We do a little bit metaphysics, but don't be afraid of this word. It means just metaphysics is the teaching of the reality behind the physical reality. So if you have, let's say, a basic concept of metaphysics, you can say is from one side you have imagine an eternal spot within yourself, which is pure being, which was there all the time and will be there all the time. The other pole is nothing. Not even empty space, but just nothing. And whenever, and this is the idea in this ancient metaphysics, whenever a creature is created, then a new gap is made between being and nothing, these two principles, being and nothing. And in this is the space for the creature being born. Then from side of eternal being, the power which is coming is consciousness. Imagine this like a white light emitting. And the power from the side of nothingness, because nothing, what is the quality of nothing? It is nothing, so it wants to be something. So it wants, so it is willpower. And this is like a tension, two poles. You can also say this is like a, if you put it to a cosmological level, you may say this is like a black hole and this is like a white hole. I mean, this is universal, very universal principle. Pure being, pure nothing, and between these two poles, creation is taking place. And then when we have consciousness, willpower, and what we need to reconnect these two basic powers is the power of love. So if you imagine that you are what you want, and you want what you are. I mean, consciousness means being, willpower. If you bring these two powers in this line, that exactly what you are, you want it, and what you want, you are. What is then happening?
Balance.
Complete balance, exactly. And these two powers and ideas, these two different powers brought together by love. Maybe imagine a white circle and a black circle, which are searching for each other, and to bring it into congruence. This is the power of love. And you can say then like if you would say like, Ya Allah, whatever I am, I want it, and whatever I want, I am it. But we doing this? No, I don't think so. We don't do. Then this is the problem. This is the
always asking to be better, or to
always asking to get something else. Yeah. I mean, this only to this will now lead us to the basic problem. What is our basic problem is that we not accepting what we are, but we want always something else. And by this, we create an artificial gap, which is not a reality, which is only in our mind. Imagine like we are digging a hole, which was not there before. Before it was everything was okay, was complete. If only we say it is complete like this. But we don't want it like this, but we want to dig a hole and then be angry about that there is a hole, and then acting to fill it. This is the drama, what's going on. Exactly. Yeah. Astaghfirullah. So now to connect it to the terminology what we have in Islam, I mean the same structure now in the terminology of Islam and Sufism especially. We have, as we said, nafs is the soul, ruh is the spirit, jism is the word for body, and the higher self, it's called like that. For example, you can call it in Arabic that. This is the word maybe closest to it. This we had already. I don't know why I put it again. And this is a little bit, because I said before that this structure is the same in every tradition you may find. At least every tradition I found, I looked at it, I found always the same classification. And this is some examples. in English like spirit, soul, body, in German like Geist, Seele, Körper, Latin tradition, corpus anima spiritus, Greek tradition, this is the Greek word psyche, like psyche, this is actually coming from there. In Hebrew, this one is like nefesh, which is very close to nafs because it's Semitic language also, and oblak. And ruach is the Hebrew word for ruch. And in tradition of alchemy, which I actually don't know anything about it, but I found that these principles are comparable to this. So you have this mercurius, sulfur, and sal. And this is ancient Egypt tradition, the different parts of the soul, the ka soul, the ba soul, the chat, and the ach. Only to show that this is a universal thing. It is not limited to some special tradition. You find it all over the world. Only the last, especially the last 500 years of science mixed up everything. Before there was a big unity in what was said, and scientists or scholars and wise men of all over the world, they agreed on these structures. Nowadays everything is like just mass. For soul you find any definition you may imagine. For spirit you find any definition. I mean, as we know, it is the time of chaos. So this is another, only to mention it, I will not go too deep in this, but only that you heard it once. It is the Enneagram, as we see it in the form we know it, is actually not a complete symbol. Gurdjieff mentioned this on different occasions. It is only a shortcut version. So if you want a complete symbol, I figured this out by geometrical studies, how this has to be, and you find the complete Enneagram. So actually this is, the inner, you have now, I put now 3 octaves instead of 1, and the middle octave actually is the Enneagram what we spoke about so far. So you have, okay, I forgot the inner triangle here. The difference is just on the traditional, on the Enneagram, what we had before. All these 3 octaves, spirit, soul, and body, are mixed in 1 octave, and here we have them separated. And out of this, we can get some other. We can touch some other fields of knowledge. And the next slides, the next 5 slides, or what I give, don't attach on it. I just mention it, that you see that the Enneagram is not only a teaching about the soul and the spirit and stuff. It is actually a universal teaching about, you can say, it is describing the inner structure or the complete structure of everything. It is a symbolical depiction of the arrangements of energies, what you find in every creation, on every level. This is the idea. And we can use, for example, we can use the Enneagram. This is still very close to the spirituality, of course. We can locate what is called in Sufi tradition the Lataif. If we have this complete Enneagram and we put it just on the body, like, it's very amazing if you think about it, that you have from your crown to the sacrum, and if you have just in the middle, the heart is located. So this is again related to the basic powers, what I said before. There is consciousness coming from here, the source of consciousness coming from here, the source of willpower coming from here, and the power which combines these 2 powers that they can flow is in the middle, is the heart. It's the center of your being, you can say. So we can use the Enneagram for mapping this in even more sophisticated way. Then We can use it for mapping Islamic cosmology. I mean, don't attach on it just to. We find the old order of the cosmos, how it was mentioned in all traditions, and the same in Islamic tradition, geocentrical model, and we have the seven heavens, and we have the fixed stars, which in the tradition refers to the kursi, and we have the surrounding sphere, which is connected with Arsh and like this. But don't touch, only to show you that you have these connections with the Enneagram everywhere. You can put this simple pattern, you can put in every field of knowledge, and you will get results. This is what it is. As astrology, if you have the Enneagram, complete Enneagram, you have already the radix, what you use even in today astrology. You already have it. I mean the 12 signs around it, then you have the 7 planets here, and in the center, okay, the Earth is missing, but logically it is there. But this is only, I mean, these things all, this is only interesting if you are an astrolog. If not, just forget it. It's only to mention how physics, you can make a physical theory out of it, that you have matter and information, and matter and information always flowing into each other, and by this kinetic energy is things are moving. And for example, if you have quantum physics, I don't know much about it, but quantum physics, the basic discovery was that energy is not flowing continuously, but energy is flowing in small portions. And it is, in other words, things on the micro level and maybe also on the macro level, they develop not continuously, but they develop in stairs. So in, and this was found in quantum physics, like at the beginning of last century. But whoever created the Enneagram, he knew about it, because you have also the same development in stages, like what we said about the octave. So the octave is developing in stages, not continuously. So you have several tones. And I mean, in Quran, the same thing is also, in Quran, it is also said things are developing in stages. It's the same idea. I mean, what they worked so hard to find it in quantum physics in Holy Quran is already there, and in ancient knowledge it is already there. Theory of color you can find if you put it into this field of knowledge. You find the colors and the different laws of the colors of mixing and stuff. You can apply it to this. And as I said, it is a universal structure. This is how it has to be understood. Yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention before, I mean the origin of the Enneagram. We said it is from, it is a part of Naqshbandi tradition, but the real origin is already unknown. So if you ask me, from what I researched about it, I think there's 2 possibilities. One possibility is that it actually was part of the revelation which came to Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is one possibility. Somehow it was in the esoteric core of the revelation. Possibility 1. And other possibility 2, it is even very older, and it was somehow maybe from very ancient tradition coming, and somehow it was still present in Central Asia. And so finally, when Islam conquered the region, then it combined and it fit to this ancient knowledge, and they picked it up and used it. But however, it is quite certain that in the Naqshbandi tradition it was also used in one or other branch of the Naqshbandi tradition. I think this is, we will see later some reasons for it, why. I think this is quite obvious. Any questions so far?
Just sorry, because I think I did not well understand, because you taught in the beginning that Gurdjieff invent his Enneagram.
No, not invent. He said, he always said he found it somewhere, but he didn't mention where.
He found it somewhere.
He found it somewhere, but he had for sure, he had contacts with Naqshbandi Sufis. I mean, as I said in the beginning, with Grand Sheikh Abdullah, maybe also with other groups of dervishes. This is the most likely source, that he picked it up from the Naqshbandi dervishes in one group or other. Any else? Anything? Any question more?
Yes. When
Yeah.
was the statement from Sheikh Nazim that he referred to the 9 points given to him?
Where?
What year?
In the 90s. He was visiting America, I think in the 90s, I'm not sure. And one day he visited this John Bennett's group, and there he talked a little bit about this. Yeah, okay, then I continue with little bit background that you better understand the dynamic of the structure and the inner logic of the structure. So as we said before, the 3 basic powers, like consciousness, willpower and love, now they are in complete balance. Then this is the spirit. The next step of creation is the creation of the soul. And in the first place, the soul you have in the logic of the symbol, you have to imagine the soul like this. It is in the same radius than the other triangle, than the spirit. It is just reflecting, so just the other way around. And you can say, okay, the soul is, in the beginning, it's like a perfect reflection of the spirit. And this is also this motive what we have in Sufism, that you have a mirror in the heart, and the light of Allah, which is the spirit, another word for the spirit, and you have to polish this mirror so that the spiritual light can be reflected in a perfect way. And this is the visual approach to it in the logic of this symbolics. You have this this ancient symbol, you get it, which is known as the Star of David, as you maybe know. And this is the meaning of it, actually, referring to spirituality. The meaning of the Star of David is complete unity of spirit and soul. So the state in paradise, you may say, in other words. And here is some from sources from the traditions. I mean, you can find it in the Islamic, the Islamic tradition. Most well known is the Jewish tradition, because also it's called the Star of David. You can find it also in Buddhism. You can find it also in Hinduism. It's all over the world. It's very universal, symbolic. Then some years ago, I think it was some years before Sheikh Nazim, so he passed away, this drawing was made by some brother. Unfortunately, I couldn't figure it out who actually was it. I asked, but so in this last years, Sheikh Nazim was mentioning about this symbol, and he was praising it, how beautiful it is. This is what I heard directly from one who heard it. Or no, I read it actually in one of these small issues what was published in Turkey, one of these small daily papers. He praised how beautiful this symbol is, and actually I got an information from a sister who visited Cyprus in this time. Sheikh Nazim she was asking Shahnazim about the meaning of this symbol, because there is some controversy, as you maybe know, that it is connected with Freemason or whatever. And Shahnazim said, actually, every Naqshbandi murid should put or should write this symbol on his tahweez to make the tahweez complete. This is originally, I know from direct source, Shahnazim said this. And it makes sense, as we will see later, also, especially day after tomorrow, it makes sense. Because the Star of David, you can say, is the complete version of the Enneagram. The Enneagram is the symbol in progress, in motion. It's still in the work. And the Star of David is the final result, if everything is going well. So, to explain the inner logic now, connected with the Star of David and the Enneagram, will follow now. So again, you have this complete unity of spirit and soul and state of paradise. What happened then in the paradise? Something with snake and stuff and apple and yeah. And in the Enneagram, it is displayed like this. So the nafs was not somehow human being was not content on his place where he is, where actually everything is complete and complete balance, but he wanted to have more. And then he looked out to get something else. And this was the big mistake. And then, I mean, the nafs, you can say the nafs expanded. Where it expanded, what is the next level under the level of the soul, is the material level. So the nafs expanded to the material level. And then what you get is this structure. So this is the change from nafs al-kamila, and after the fall of man, going to nafs amara bisu. And then you find yourself in this state of imbalance and polarity. And then, I mean, this is also the logical connection to religion. Why religion is necessary? Because the task of the idea of religion is to reverse this process. I mean, actually, there is a problem within human being. Everybody knows this. In the end, only most people, they try to solve it by material means, as we said. And if it is not working with the new car, then maybe it will work with the new house. But it's still not working, then maybe it's working with whatever. And we can continue. This is endless, because this structure is endless. It will never find satisfaction. The polarity you will always find again. If you solve one polarity with one object, this polarity what you had then is maybe solved, but the nature of the nafs amara bisu is polarity. So you will not get rid of by objects. And this is the place of where religion belongs to, and spirituality. And again, only to mention it in the complete Enneagram, again you have this from the level of the soul expanding to the material level, to the level of the body. So the soul is in wrong place, and it must be put back in correct place. This is the all idea why we are here, no? In this house, for example, this is the idea. And now to describe the egoistic soul, or nafs amara bisu, as it is called, to describe it a little bit more in detail, we take this is teaching from Al-Ghazali. He used these concepts, and he said there's two destructive powers in the Nafs Amara Bisu which are destroying human being, and this is craving on one side and aversion on the other side. And this is also quite logic, because if you take yourself and the world, there's two possibilities. Either you are attracted by something or you are repelled by something. And desiring, like shahwa and radab, this teaching of Al-Ghazali.
There was a question to that.
Yes.
Clearly or simply translate the craving and aversion in Turkish into German.
Ach so, Gier und Hass. Ja.
Oh.
Bisschen extrem ausgedrückt, aber das ist das, was es ist eigentlich, ja.
Ja, Anziehung und Abstoß.
Kann auch, ja genau. Das eine ist die anziehende Kraft, one is attracting, the other one is repelling. So in this dynamic we are always, okay, sometimes we are neutral if it is not for interest, but as soon as we communicate, as soon as we get into contact with an object or another human being or whatever, these powers start to work.
Sorry, just the reference is Abu Hamid al-Ghazali?
The older one, the famous one, with the
Abu Hamid al-Ghazali. And
I think so, yes. Yes,
do you have in the book? Because he wrote several books.
it is written in the Elixir of Happiness. There he explains this Elixir of Happiness. This is the source. Okay, now even more detailed. What is happening in our Nafs Amara Bisu? What is happening? Let's start from the vital level. There is a certain desire arising, maybe hunger. Then this is activating a certain idea in the mental level. What is just coming to your mind? We always use kebab. I mean, this is stupid, but okay, it's kebab. I mean, there comes the idea kebab, this desire. At the same time, there is an emotion coming, like love for the kebab. And this draws you to run to the kebab shop and get it. And in the same time, what we are not aware of, and now this polarity comes into play, when our desire is fulfilled immediately, so there is the kebab shop and we can go there and we get it and the kebab, and then polarity is finished and this desire is finished. But if we don't get it, then we get aware of the other side of the medal, the other side of polarity. Then we feel the aversion that we don't get it. So, and this is unconsciously. This is important thing. This is we are always only on one side, and we are not aware that we creating by putting one force. We are not aware that we are creating the opposite force unconsciously. And by creating these two opposite forces, actually this is the prison of the soul. By this we imprison us. We attach ourselves to the material level, and we let the material level rule about ourselves if we are happy or not. This is what happens. So this is the famous prison of the soul. And this you can play through this structure over and over again. You will find it's always running like this. This is our daily life. All the time. Something else, again, this not working, okay, disappointment, okay, next project, working hard, project, succeed, but when it succeeds, polarity is not anymore interesting. Next project. This is the drama actually, and this is the drama, like it is visually depicted in this symbol.
But it looks like very sad. How we can?
It's sad, yeah.
How we can?
But there's hope, or we will get the hope. Or
How we can broke this polarity?
This will come maybe today a little bit, maybe tomorrow. Then, because Alhamdulillah, Allah didn't leave us alone with one law. He created another law also, and not only we have not only to go down the mainstream, but there is a certain kind of stream going against the mainstream, and we can go against it by spirituality. In one word, by spirituality we can reconnect the energies and go up, go against the stream, go up.
Das ist, glaube ich, auch der Opfer-Täter-Kreislauf, nicht? Der Opfer-Täter-Kreislauf.
Kann auch sein. Yes, yes, exactly.
Can you translate what he said?
He said this is also the concept of victim and what is the other one? The one who does it to the victim.
The wrongdoer. If someone feels as victim, he
Yes.
feels also legitimated to become a wrongdoer.
Yes, yes.
You can see in Israel, for instance.
I mean, if you have, you can check even the most complicated psychological structure. In the end, you can break it down always to this structure, and this makes the Enneagram so precious because we can break down so many different things which we are confused with, but we can break it down always to the same structure, and we can understand it. You know, this is the value of this symbol. We can use it as a one focus for everything and to improve our understanding about these kind of things. And another aspect I want to mention, it is, I mean, this main pattern here is only one possibility. I mean, you have to, as I said before also, you have to imagine there is a lot of these, like I made it with these different points. So, and this is you can say this is all the many different phases of the ego, and everybody of us has countless of these patterns inside ourselves, and we can also say this is the different personalities. I mean, in a certain situation, when there are certain circumstances, you switch to one personality, maybe the fighter type. In another situation, you switch to another personality, which may be the victim type. In next situation, you switch maybe to the cool type. We have everybody of us has a bunch of different patterns what we use to come through our life, and this. But I mean, useful on one hand, but also harmful, because by this we are undermining our integrity, because we show many faces and not only our original being. Then a very important aspect of this polarity is that it is always causing the opposite polarity. And this, for example, you can find in religion, when, let's say, people you have on one side, maybe you have people who are living in worldly, what I called here a little bit things like worldly excess, so they live for the dunya. And then you can find the same people, suddenly they change, suddenly they find religion or whatever, and then they turn the other way around. But again, the problem is they are not leaving the structure, so they are performing religion, but they stay in the egoistic structure. And this is what you can call religion without spirituality. And this is what I mean, the most prominent example where you can find this is in Wahhabi people. You know, Wahhabi idea. They don't understand the spiritual thing in religion, so they just take it as a loss. I mean, to fight themselves, and this then you can call it like tyrannic morality or something like this. So you perform religion, but you are not breaking the structure. But the main idea of religion is to break the structure, to get out of this structure. So only the names are changed, but the structure is the same. So they just go from one prison into the other prison. But not only Wahhabi. I mean, I don't like always this bashing of Wahhabi people. Not only Wahhabi people. We do it also. We have this Wahhabi structure in ourselves also. Where if we're not taking care and use our understanding to really get out of this circle, we stay in the same circles. We just do it the other way around. This is a common thing between all of us are in it. Yes, connected with this structure, there is a certain feature which is also, there's a certain feature in the soul which is also important to know about it, and this is what Gurdjieff, he called it buffers, and in Islamic tradition, or with Al-Ghazali for example, it is called veils. So
Which is, you can tell me the word in Arabic?
veils, what is this? Hijab. This hijab, covering, this covering. So the idea is that this pattern of polarity is actually a suffering, and we say it, we are only aware of one side always. The other side is unconscious. And when we consider that we have many of these patterns in ourselves, it is clear what will happen if we could look at it by one, we can see it in one moment, just we see all of this tragedy in ourselves. What will happen? Just get mad. Like sometimes happen with people that take hallucinogen drugs, and some of these drugs, they have the capacity to remove these veils, and they see something is so shocking and they stay on it. They stay in the, they are finished, they are mad. And in order that this is not happening, there is the soul is protecting itself, and you can see it here. You have the polarity plus, minus, these two triangles, and where they are meet, you have these lines, and these are symbolically in the Enneagram, these are the veils which are dividing one triangle from the other. So it will not meet each other, and you feel it's not real peace, but you feel in alleged peace. I mean, it's not really disturbing you.
Can you give examples of this situation? I don't really understand.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
It means when you are. With
Let's say somebody is a liar. He's always lying, but he is not. He is not honest. Then he's lying. But if you ask him, suddenly he switch in another state and he say, no, I'm not lying. He will not face it. He doesn't want to face. And maybe there are people who are really unaware of lying. I mean, you can meet people, they lie all the time, but if you ask, you are lying all the time, what's wrong with you? You say, me? Not lying. Always saying truth. And this, for example, and if you remove this person will have to face all this reality, and this just burn him. And everybody of us is like this. I mean, this is the drama. As I said, it's in all of us, this structure, and we have certain veils which are protecting us of these contradicting forces within ourselves. And to understand what are these veils in a very general sense, I mean, there's many veils, but the most prominent, most well-known whales, what we can also perceive in ourselves. There is one whale between here, and this is just thoughts and imaginations. All the time our head is filled with some imaginations, and we cannot really concentrate on reality. We are always distracted. And this is a whale at work. I mean, thoughts, imaginations is one whales. This is one movie we are living in. The other movie, for everybody, is the same, is sensual perceptions. So we are living like in two different movies, going on, the flow of thoughts and the flow of sensual perceptions.
What is sensual?
Sinneswahrnehmung. I mean, I'm talking now very, okay, there's more whales, but Shahnazim, he once said, if you really look at reality, there is this state of annihilation of the Sufi, of the dervish. There is this state of annihilation. It will be like that everything else disappears. So, I mean, this is sensual perceptions is actually what we are calling the world, what we are calling the outer world, and there is a certain point of on the journey to reality where even sensual perceptions, so to say, the world is disappearing. This is what they say. I mean, not only Shahnazim said this, you can find this statement in the traditions. This is when these mystics, they turn to the ecstatic mystic state, and somehow this is a complete change of consciousness, as they describe it. So, I mean, to this sensual perceptions, we say, okay, sensual perceptions is nothing harmful, it's normal for everybody, but to get the complete picture where we are as human being and where our real potential is, we have to see this as whales. So the ultimate goal is to somehow to overcome these. I mean, in the end, I'm talking of the ultimate goal, not every day, but you know, when also the physical death, and we are leaving this world and we come to another realm, whatever. And the third whale is somehow also we are full of contradictions all the time when we are honest to ourselves, but somehow in ourselves we have the imagination that there is a kind of continuity, that we are always one person. But in reality, if we check it closer, it is not true. I mean, in the morning we are somebody, when we dealing with our wife, we are somebody else. When we dealing with friends, we may switch another personality. It is actually we are multi. We have no continuous, non-changing self, which is the same in every time. We are changing. We are full of contradiction, and but somehow there is this illusion that we are one. Yes?
So essentially the illusion is also necessary and vital.
It is not necessary, it is protection. It is useful on one hand because it is protecting you from seeing too much too early. I mean, but on the other hand, for sure it is one of the main obstacles on the path. I mean, the illusion is always, by the masters, they call it one of the most dangerous obstacles. I mean, imagine you can find this pattern, for example, in some esoteric groups. You feel maybe you come to some whatever esoteric group, and very surprisingly, it is full of spiritual masters there. You know, you have all these Reiki masters and all these. And yesterday they had some conversation with Archangel Gabriel, and I don't know what they're telling you. And this is illusionary. and this is very dangerous obstacle. I mean, if we consider ourselves to be was ist Erleuchtung auf Englisch? Kann mir jemand helfen? Enlightenment, yes. If we imagine ourselves to be enlightened ones, why should we make some effort to come closer to the spiritual enlightenment? This is most dangerous obstacle.
You mean that it's like predestinate? We are in predestination to be...
No, predestination is maybe something else. No, I'm talking just about illusion. That by illusion we can block ourselves to become active. We think we are already there, but we are not there. But when we have the illusion we are already there, we don't make effort. This is why I say this is, or the masters always say in the traditions, they say illusions is one of the most dangerous obstacles.
Yes, but the veils that you're talking about, they are necessary. I mean, if you sense perception, what was the other one? Your thoughts.
Yes.
And the idea that you are the same person. These are all things that without which we cannot live.
Yes, it's true. I mean, we are...
It's not the same as thinking that we spoke to the angel Gabriel, is it?
No. I mean, there is a certain... there are different stages of illusion. I mean certain also different stages of veils. I mean, you have the very basic veils. This is for everybody, like sensual perceptions and like thoughts and imaginations. But these veils can become more. I mean, it can happen that, for example, your sensual perceptions in a normal state, you just see what is actually there. But it can be developed like this if you have certain psychic conditions. It can happen that you actually see or hear or feel things which are actually not there. You just have illusion. There can be layer over layer, you know. It's not the same for everybody. It can be layers.
Can you repeat this sensual perception part?
Yes, I said in the symbol, like it is displayed here, there is these different types of veils and one of the basic veils everybody of us have is the sensual perception. So, as I said, or as the masters say, there is a certain stage in the spiritual development where you can cross over this veil of sensual perception. There is something behind it. This is not reality. This is a very common idea in the spiritual tradition, especially, for example, in the Hindu tradition. You have this idea of Maya, this illusionary world. They emphasize very much on it. So you have, they say like everything is illusion. You know, everything what you see is not reality. It's just a dream. But Islam is also talking about it. Like Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he say, when you die, you wake up from a dream. It's the same idea. Okay, to a little bit more to dive into this structure. I mean, this is in the end what we are calling the devil's circle. So you have this symbol of infinity, and this in one way or other, this is coming from this, from something which is infinite flowing and never coming to an end. So what I said before, the problem of this structure is when we don't do anything about it. I mean, in terms of spirituality, it will go on and will go on and will go on. It will not. It will never find in this structure. It is impossible to find real balance, to find real peace. And this is, I mean, this is the big illusion of maybe most of the people in the world, that they are believing that their aim and the The sense of life is is on the material plane, and there they will find their happiness. They imagine, okay, when I will have a family and I build a house near a lake and everybody will be fine, and this is what they imagine it will be their paradise, but it is not. As soon as they arrive there, finally they will find the lake is boring, the house is boring. I mean, always when we achieve a material aim, it becomes it's not interesting anymore. The dynamic is gone. The energy what we get out of it is the energy to reach to it. But as soon as it is reached, the energy is slowing out and the air is going down. The air is coming out of the balloon, and we have to find a new aim. Like in Quran, Holy Quran Day, it is said like it is the state where the inhabitants of hell they are living in. They say they have one skin, and this skin is burnt, and when the skin is ready burnt, they get a new skin. This is the same idea as described in the Quran. We have one project, then it is burnt, it's getting ready, the project, and when it is finished, project finished, we need something else, and we get a new skin, and this is burnt again. I mean, this is, in the end, this is the mechanics of hell, what we're talking about.
The same is true for spiritual goals. The same is true for spiritual goals. Like I have to reach enlightenment or something.
Yes. This is also this is what we a little bit similar to what we said before, like this tyrannic morality versus worldly excess. Spirituality can also become a material objective. Then we have some idea how it's going to be. I mean, and then this is a very dangerous illusion also, because we are thinking that we are working and we are waking up. In reality, we are dreaming that we are waking up. I mean, this in the end, to be honest is the key in this thing. I mean, this is why truth and to be honest is so important. Always Prophet ﷺ, he emphasized on it, that truth and to be truthful and to be honest to himself and to others is so important. Is the basic key to destroy this structure. To be honest, okay, these things are going on in myself, and then find how to get solution, but not to fall into the trap of illusion. This is,
It requires lots of courage. It requires lots
Yes, it needs, but that's we are here, no? All of us so courageous people here, no? And to switch to another symbol which is connected with this devil circle is the devil itself also. I mean, this is why you find it in the tradition with these two horns, and this is referring to these polarity forces always fighting each other. And also for example with the Dajjal, this Dajjal creature in Islamic tradition, he said like he's one-eyed, and this is also like a symbolical expression that we are always aware only on one side of our consciousness. We don't see the whole picture, only we're switching from left to right, but never we are centered and we can have the whole picture. And there is one story I want to mention here. There was Maulana Shaykh Nazim. Once he was with some disciples in a brain research center, and then they asked him to do the favor they wanted to check it out. Okay, this is holy one, so maybe this we will see. We want to check what is going on. Maybe in this brain must be something special. And usually you have in these I think it's called EEG, or when they connect all these electrodes to the head, And usually what you have, it is like a small crackling lines, like in a seismograph. You have more different lines which are like crackling, very disharmonious flow. This is the normal thing, but what they found when they connected Maulana to the thing, then the machine, it seemed to be really, it was new for the machine what's going on, and the machine was drawing a very harmonious patterns of different waveforms. And this doctor was I never saw this in my life, what's going on. And Maulana just said, there's nothing special, it's just my brain is working in the correct way. Yes. And yes, this one-eyed, as we said, this feature of one-eyedness of the shaitan. And this has not to be dischanged with the, I mean, for example, all of us maybe know this one eye in this pyramid from the Freemasons and stuff. I mean, be careful. As I checked it out, what you find about symbols and symbolism in the internet, 99, maybe more % of it's just rubbish. You know, people just copying from each other, and it is like this, maybe some Freemason, he used certain symbols from the tradition he used in his book and then say, okay, this is obviously a bad person, so he used the symbols and all these symbols are satanic and stuff. I mean, you find 99.99% of rubbish. I mean, in the end, symbols it's a language on its own. It's a language of form. And this has to be studied. I mean, people, obviously, they don't study the language of form. They're just copying from each other, and you find all these conspiranoia videos on YouTube and stuff. I mean, just leave it away. It's not proper knowledge what you find there. We will have some approach to traditional, I mean, to symbols of different traditions. We will have some approach on day after tomorrow. Then I will show you, I will a little bit explain the language of form and how in different traditions forms are similar but not the same. But then you will understand that it's a science of its own, symbolics. And the main idea why symbols were used in the tradition is, but the big advantage of symbols is that you can express something while you are leaving the level of language, because language mostly is immediately activating the brain, is activating the thoughts, and then easily you are again in this circle of imaginations. But in symbols you have the possibility to directly reach to higher capacities of consciousness which in yourself. And if you want to try this out, I mean, just you can a little bit occupy yourself with traditional symbols, and you will experience that symbols, if you just draw them or you study them, suddenly certain things become clear to you, but you don't know why, because you didn't get it logically. It's just by the form. Suddenly a certain idea is coming clear. I mean, this was an old method of communicating knowledge in the end, symbolics. This is why they are used.
What symbols do you advise them
to
occupy you with?
Yeah, it's okay. I said it now, but it's in practice it's really not easy, because you find not really good books on it. I mean, for example, one author I can recommend. What's his name again? It's a French one. It's very famous. René Guénon, exactly. René Guénon is for sure a good source.
For the symbolic.
Yes, yes. He explains things, as far as I checked it out, he explains things very well. And
How do
very...
you spell his second name?
René Guénon.
How do you spell it?
René, G-U-E-N-O-N. René Guénon. He is, for example, he has, I think one book is called The Secret of the Cross. There he is explaining the cross symbol. Yes, yes. And for the cross, I will also tomorrow, I think we will get to the symbol of the cross and we will explain it, what it is the meaning. And only, I mean, because I was talking about this thing of the one-eyed shaitan and stuff, and you have this other one eye, what you have in the pyramid, this is actually an ancient symbol for the divine consciousness. This is not a satanic symbol. This, what you have on the dollar note, it's a ancient symbol for the divine consciousness, and like it is expressed, for example, in the divine name, I think it's Al-Basir, the all-seeing one. Yeah. This is this kind of strange misunderstandings. I mean, symbols which are originally divine symbols and expressing ideas of spirituality, you will find on YouTube turned into satanic, I don't know what, strange.
Have you heard of A.B. Warburg? A.B. Warburg?
No.
Okay. What is this thing called iconology? What symbol?
Okay, and now to come back to the structure that we developed now in the last 1.5 hours. This is the starting point for tomorrow. So tomorrow I will do a little bit more explanations about how to integrate the spirit into the soul of the structure. You can see here is the spirit can come into play here in certain points. I mean, the triangle is symbolizing that there is certain points for the spirit where the spirit can enter. And for example, to mention something for the whales, what we mentioned, which are the whales before this, we said this is the whale like sensual perception, and these are like thoughts and imaginations, and this was the imaginary self. You can see that these lines are crossing the light of the spirit. So this is a symbolical expression that these whales are hindering the spirit to enter. But somehow there is a gateway, and I mean, some aspects of these gateways which can be done, we will talk about tomorrow, and this is connected with the Octave points. So we will see that if we put these different impulses of consciousness, willpower, and love, these impulses they have certain locations in our system where they make most sense. And when we put these impulses not just anywhere, but we use these special locations, then we can activate the transformation process in better way. And my hope is that tomorrow the concentration will be like this high that we can make kind of an inner experience, whatever. We will see. It's an experiment. I never did it before, but I like to share this because I found it really precious to be used. That was it for today. Thank you very much. Any questions? Sorry. Any questions left?
Yeah, maybe I have one question. Before you showed the triangle from the spirit, I think it was, and then
Yes.
when we had the apple in paradise,
Yes.
we stretched it and it
Yes.
became bigger. But it was the same as the evil one in
Uh,
April. It was the same. Later you showed the satanic one, and it was like from the size the same.
Um,
From the size and the.
I'm not sure what you mean. Wait.
The triangle became bigger.
Yes. Okay. Let me just switch it.
I was wondering if it means that we changed ourselves to the evil, basically. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah, this one.
Yes.
And when you showed the one eye of the evil.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was the same size. It was the same structure, no?
No, the one eye, what we had in the last slide, it was like the all-seeing eye of God.
And then it became bigger. And now
Okay.
you're showing the one with the evil eye, with the one with the satanic one.
Yes.
It was like this.
Give me time.
I was wondering if, is it not the same from the?
Ah yes. Okay. Yeah. I mean the satanic structure is actually how you say is created by this expansion.
So we expand ourselves and became basically evil.
The soul expanded to the material level, and Shaitan is in the tradition is actually the demon which is attaching us to the material level.
Yeah.
So just came something into my mind. I want to say it, but yes, this is why he's called stoned in the tradition. He's called stoned, the Shaitan Rajim. Stoned. Why stoned? Stoned by matter, by stone. This is the idea. So, I mean, the Shaitan is the demon, which actually led us from the paradise, who seduced us and lead us to the material level, and we are locked in this material structure, and he locked us into this circle. Yeah, and this is why, I mean, in this triangle also I wanted to show this, because this is referring maybe to the horns, you know, to the horns of Shaitan, and this usually has also this beard like this. I mean, this is language of form. This is already something what we can say. This is how language of form is working. I mean, suddenly you can find in the Enneagram, you can find certain forms which are very astonishingly, they are referring to some symbolic forms, what you know from the tradition.
Just to, like, my question was that basically the expanded soul
Yes.
Is evil.
I mean, it is human destiny in the first place. I mean, we are like this. But by attachment to the material level, evil is generating. Yeah, this is the reason for in the end. This is the evil is. But with evil, it is a little bit a tricky thing, because there is nothing really evil, because everything is created by Allah. Evil is, I mean, to put it maybe to put it in words, you can say evil is this artificial difference what we do. I mean, if I look now, if I'm now here, okay, 7:15, I'm in Osmanische Herberg, I'm standing here, it's like this, and I just say to myself, Ya Allah, I want it just like it is now. I go with the flow. Then there's nothing evil here. But if I think, for example, there's this brother or that brother I don't like, and I make this gaps, then evil is entering. But it's not from reality. It is evil is created in imagination. It's actually a thing which is not real. It's only like we take one reality, put it against another reality, and in the gap there's evil.
if somebody's a tyrant in front of you,
Yeah.
killing people, they are evil.
Yes, because he's suffering from all these gaps in his imagination.
Yeah, but I am not imagining anything. I have killing in front of me.
Okay, but if you enter together with him into the game, and you start to get aggression against him, then you are part of the game. Then you enter into the evil game.
But I should have to. I mean, is it my duty to recognize evil?
No, I mean, whatever in this situation, I cannot say what is your duty. Maybe it's your duty to kill him, if you can. Maybe it's your duty just to carry. But however, whatever you do, as soon as you enter into this mentality that you don't like what Allah is creating, and you make a gap, then you are entering the game of Shaitan. Time for dinner, maybe. Okay, I thank you very much, and inshallah we see you tomorrow.